Aloha. Mahalo nui everyone for coming here today. This special day to honor our fire chief. At this time, I'd like to request for the audience to stand for our opening ceremony for our honored guard presented by the Maui Fire Department, followed by our national anthem presented by the Maui Fire Department National Anthem Singers, as well as the Hawaii Pono'i.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red the bursting in air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the whole harbor brave. Right, face. Forward, march. Play, play, play. 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 Play, play, play.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Mahalo nui to the Maui Fire Department for that amazing opening ceremony. At this time, please join me in welcoming our chaplain for the Hawaii and police departments. Please join me in welcoming Pastor Rene DeLuz for our opening pule.
It's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to be here. I understand I have 3 minutes, which being Portuguese, a woman, and a preacher, we are asking God for a miracle as soon as we start the program. So here we go, but I'm going to give it. And you know, there's so much I could say about Chief, but I will honor that 3 minute. But I guess first off, I want to say how special he made me feel. And he made me feel so special that I was kind of upset that he made everyone else feel special, because I thought I was special, you know, but he had a way of making everyone feel special. Yesterday was such a beautiful service. I'm so thankful today that I'm not following the slideshow. Yesterday I wasn't either, but it would have been hard following the slideshow yesterday. But everything that I saw and everything I heard and every person that came up, whether they were family, whether they were a colleague, whether they were a friend, exemplified the scripture that, the passage that I want to share right now. And when I went home and, you know, I was thinking about him all night, this passage came to me, and I think it's so fitting. And for those of you that know it, it's a love chapter. And it says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. And if reading it, I could just put Chief Todd there. So I'm going to do that, and you're going to see that there's few people in my life that I know of that this holds true for. Chief Todd was patient and kind. He was not jealous. He was not boastful or proud or rude. He did not demand his own way. I never saw him irritable. And I have to say that I really believe he kept no record of wrongs. We did have conversations and things, and you can't be chief and make everyone happy all the time. But he didn't hold grudges. And I never heard anything from him that he ever held a grudge or he would ever retaliate in any way. So he kept no record of being wronged. He didn't rejoice in injustice, but rejoiced whenever the truth won out. He never gave up. He never lost faith. He was always hopeful, and he endured through every circumstance. And in an organization or a career that attracts a lot of, alpha males, if I can say that, and females, he wasn't that kind of leader. Yeah, he was a humble servant leader. And so join your hearts with me as we pray, but that's what I wanted to share of my thoughts about Chief Todd. If you don't mind taking each other by the hand and Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for Chief Todd. For everyone here, he was something different. He played a different role in each of our lives. But I believe he did exemplify that with all of us, he tried to be patient and kind and understanding and never proud, never saw him proud, never felt that he did anything for the title, the position, or ego. It was just to make the department and the community that he loved a better and a safer place. And today as we gather, Lord, we draw strength and comfort from the hand that we hold, others who come together today because they shared that love for him. And we just pray that in everything that is said and done, it would be honoring to his memory and to you, Lord. So bless this time as we share our thoughts and our aloha for Chief Todd. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Renee. At this time, I'd like to begin by acknowledging everyone gathered here today as we share this time to reflect the life of Kazuo Scott Kui Ka'aleo Pele Poha Kalani Lithead Todd, our fire chief. First and foremost, thank you to his family. Wife Miko, daughter Akane, mother-in-law Kyoto Kanamoro, sister-in-law Asako Kawamoto, his father Stephen, mother Bobby Jean, brother Chris, his wife Brittany and their daughter, sister Kathy, her husband Joshua and their 5 children, plus 1 on the way. Sister Danielle Rezotarski, her husband Dan, and their son from Arizona. Uncle Gerald DiMello, Auntie Claudette, and Uncle Ronald Todd from Missouri, Uncle Al Ramos, and Auntie Cindy from Honolulu. We'd also like to acknowledge the current and former leaders, mentors, and heroes of our fire department's administration, and those of our partner agencies. To our county and state officials, Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke, Mayor Kimo Alameda, county council members present, and any other officials present. And of course, to all our brother and sister first responders, community members, and friends. Thank you all for joining us today to honor life, service, and the leadership of our fire chief. My name is Bradley Young. I'm the new and the first battalion chief of the Ocean Safety Division of the Hawaii Fire Department. I am so humbled to be a part of many firsts that Chief Todd worked tirelessly to create. And I don't know much about fires, but if I see smoke or fire, I'm calling dispatch, getting out of the way and looking for the nearest body of water to jump in. But in all seriousness, I'm honored to manage ocean safety, contributing to the all hazards response agency that we are. Chief Todd, he had a unique way of preparing us for responsibility. He never raised his voice, never panicked. He just casually hand you something, an enormous task, and he'll say, "You'll be fine." Then he'd walk away with a grin, fully aware that you're about to find out the hard way. And if you're wondering what that looked like, just take a peek at the photo in your program. And that's the face that I remember in those moments. But that was his leadership style. Trust first, support always. And he always gave the expectation that you would arise to the challenge. And he left us with the impression that he knew that we could. At this time, I'd like to express my deepest respect for Chief Todd's family and condolences. And thank you to those who will now speak in his honor. Thank you all for being here to reflect on his life. And I would use the word legacy, but as discussed yesterday, he didn't care about legacy. He just wanted the work to be done. So let's reflect on the work that our fire chief did. With that said, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Chief Todd's brother and State Representative, Christopher Todd.
Aloha, everyone. I thought today would be a lot easier, but I heard the bagpipe, and that was not a great start. I just wanted to take some time to express our gratitude and our thanks. There are far too many people to thank individually. You know who you are. I don't think we could ever, count how many kindnesses that have been shown our family over this past month. And I think for a lot of us, been obviously extremely difficult, but it would be substantially more so without all of the help and care and love that we've received. So I just wanted to start right away with that. You know who you are, you're special to us, and will be forever. I did think, before I get into it, a pastor mentioned that Kazu didn't hold grudges, and, I don't think I do either. But I think that's because our mom does it for us. So we've really just never needed to. So thanks for that. Even getting through the guest list, it's like, she makes side eyes sometimes. Yesterday we had our service for Kazu, and I chose not to give a speech. I think knowing I was speaking today, I figured if we had every Todd speak on Saturday, that the service may never end and the food would get cold. Or at least that's what I told myself. I think in reality, I just wanted to delay this moment as long as I possibly could. Sorry. I wrote this speech this morning because there is an air of finality in standing up here and a type of closure that I don't think I am ready for. Every community is familiar with tragedy, but here in Hilo, it really seems that we've had more than our fair share, especially when it comes to government officials. It's not lost on me that I stand here after entering the State House after we lost our friend, Cliff Suji. Just 10 months before that, we lost our senator, our family friend, Gilka Hele, and we're almost exactly 5 years removed from the loss of our mayor, Billy Kanoy. In addition to that, it's only been about a year and a half since we lost our friend, Representative Mark Nakashima, and that's a lot to cram into a short period of time. A couple of days ago, after my brother passed, his best friend, Troy Gibson, who's out laying low somewhere, started to talk through the procession where my brother's casket would be loaded onto a fire truck and driven through Hilo as part of a formal protocol. This was all completely uncharted territory for me, but as it turns out, my dad was one of the county employees responsible for planning these services for Mayor Bernard Akana when he passed away in office in 1990. My dad shared his experience with our family, walked us through the details, and told us that as part of this ceremony, they had a young boy walk through the crowd and present a bouquet of flowers to Mayor Akana's wife. These flowers were given on behalf of the children of Hawaii Island to express their condolences and gratitude. And that boy was my brother. So now here we are with another one of our community leaders lost too soon. I think the truth is, prior to this month, I had never really given much thought to my brother's leadership style. I would always describe him as me, but organized. And extremely organized. But that doesn't quite capture it. My brother was an absolutely voracious reader. He found time to read for pleasure, but more often than not, he could be found reading a book on leadership or management. He was obsessed with maximizing the potential of the fire department as a vessel for good on Hawaii Island, and that applied doubly to those who he served with. He sincerely believed that his job was to provide the department with all of the tools they needed to succeed, but to not make things so easy for those around him that they became completely reliant and dependent on him to make decisions or solve problems. He wanted them empowered and capable of doing great things. My brother, he didn't experience a ton of failure over the last 20 years. But if his goal was to not make things too easy for me, he failed miserably. I never needed to be the best son because we already had one. I never needed to be the best big brother because we had one of those too. There are so many ways he made my life easier just by existing. The last time I saw my brother was the night before he passed. I picked Ruby up from school and asked if she wanted to go see the Christmas trees at the county building. My wife joined us there after work, and we had a great time checking out all of the displays made by each county department. On the second floor, they had arts and crafts tables manned by staff from our fire department. I didn't know it was their day to coordinate and volunteer, and I thought my brother was still off island at the time. He'd had knee surgery a week before, had somehow still managed to never miss work, to show up to multiple events all around the island despite our advice. Had also ended up in Maui for the fire chief convention, and somehow in there ended up on the mainland for another work function before landing at around 6 p.m. and seeing us at the county building at 6:30. We found him there, and he was helping kids color snowflakes that would be taped up to the administration windows. We hugged, we talked for about 10 minutes. We didn't leave things unsaid, and then we parted ways. The next day, my wife said we should start figuring out Christmas plans. And just like every family holiday for the past 10 plus years, that meant calling my brother and asking, what should we do? Kazu's planning his passing has left a major hole in our lives. A couple of weeks ago, when it was time to make plans, I realized I didn't have anyone to call. I used to have a guy for that. And when it came time to plan this weekend's services, I called Troy and asked about some detail, and he told me, I used to have a guy for that. We all used to have a guy for that, and now he's gone. Now, originally, I was going to end here on what was admittedly a very depressing note. But at yesterday's service, we had to make a last-minute adjustment to our program, and we ended up playing a very emotional and soul-crushing slideshow right before our governor, Josh Green, was scheduled to speak. In hindsight, kind of a dick move. My bad on that. But the governor got the last laugh when, after seeing a bunch of our childhood photos, he quipped that I was a very fat child. At least he said child. That was very sweet of him. So out of a sense of self-preservation, with our lieutenant governor coming up next, I'll try to leave things with something at least a bit more uplifting. This past summer, my family traveled with my brother and his family to Japan. After many years of just not being able to make scheduling work and always kind of putting it off till next year. It was the first time for us, but Kazu had probably been there 20 times. And he told us ahead of time, he always had a plan. His plan was to use the first couple of days to show us how to get around, with their excellent train system, and then unleash us to just go explore when we were ready. Imagine our surprise when, instead of holding our hands and guiding us, he proceeded to walk about twice as fast as any reasonable human being through every single train station, while we tried to keep up with our 7-year-old daughter, who's got, tiny little legs, right? We spent much of the first 2 days trying our best to keep up, while having side conversations about why my brother was being so inconsiderate. Every once in a while, he would turn a corner and we would completely lose him in the crowd of people, and then have to just kind of figure it out. And yet, the next time, a day or two later, when it was our time to branch off for the first time and go explore, we were able to perfectly navigate through Tokyo and almost never took a wrong turn. He had given us all of the tools that we needed to succeed. And so, here we all are. Kazu has lived too fast. He's gone too far ahead. And he's turned the next corner without us. But I am confident that he has left his family, his friends, his department, and his community with all of the tools we need to succeed. We are ready to navigate through these difficult times. We are not lost. And we will find our way forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We'd like to extend our gratitude to the Governor, Josh Green, Mayor Kimo Alameda, the Hawaii County Fire Department, and the Maui Fire Department in their support in this weekend's program. At this time, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke.
Aloha. When I got asked to speak at this event, I was somewhat very uncomfortable because I wasn't sure if I could make it through my speech. And then when I found out I was speaking right after Chris, I thought, okay, I'm gonna lose it. And then so all day yesterday, I was telling Sue Leloy, okay, get ready, because if I lose it after Aloha, you just gotta be ready. So Sue, just stand right here, because at any given point, you might have to read the rest of the remarks. But as I saw all the individuals who came through yesterday, all the individuals who are here today, and all the individuals, even as I was going home, people came up to me, like Mark Yamanaka was on the plane, and Mark said, and he still had tears in his eyes, and he said, I grew up with them, and they were so special. And my comms director, who wrote this speech, she couldn't get through writing this speech because she is dating Justin, and Justin grew up with the family. And then this morning, when I was talking to Mayor Bisson from Maui, Mayor Bisson had gone to school with Bobby Jean. And we looked around on a daily basis how many individuals we were able to touch and we were able to impact for good. And the fact that so many people came out, so many people were able to share their stories, it just tells you, in such a short time, he was able to change and make impact to so many people's lives. This part is written because I didn't think I could say it. To the Todd Ohana. Okay, Chris. I know I speak for the entire state. Of all the stories I heard about how Kazuo impacted and helped you, that was time away from the family. So on behalf of the state, we just wanted to thank you for sharing him with us. Mahalo to each and every one of you for sharing Kazuo. What was telling about Kazuo and what was telling about Chris, Bobby Jean, his wife, his family, was they were profoundly proud of each other. I don't know how many times Chris introduced his brother to me, and after the 5th time I told Chris, I know who your brother is. And every time I see Kazuo would say, I'm Chris's brother. And after the 5th or 6th times I told Kazuo, I know who you are. You don't have to keep saying you're Chris's brother. But even after I told him, I know who you are, Kazuo. You don't have to keep introducing yourself as Chris's brother. I think he just liked to hear that he was somebody's brother. Or he would say, I'm Bobby Jean's son, or I'm so-and-so. And then I would meet with Neko, and he would say, did you meet my wife? She's an educator. And they were just profoundly proud of each other. And that tells you how special this family was. Because I can tell you, my sister never brags about me. She doesn't go around telling people, oh, my sister is the lieutenant governor for the state of Hawaii, considering I am the lieutenant governor, but she doesn't go around going, that's her. But this family was that. They were profoundly proud of each and every one of the Todd family. And when his daughter graduated, he was saying, even if I didn't get a chance to spend time with his daughter, he said, hey, my daughter graduated. And I said, I know, I was at the graduation. I took a picture of her and then sent it. And it's those kind of things that make me feel that no matter what, he was a true dedicated servant. He was a leader. But what he valued most was to be called father, husband, brother, son, and friend. So mahalo to each and every one of you for loving him during his 45 years of life, Mahalo to making him feel special. And mahalo to Kazuo for making us feel special on a daily basis. I have a lot more to say, but since I took up most of my time in silence, I'm just going to end with this. When I texted Chris with condolence, he texted back with just, thank you. He was great. Kazuo was great. I will miss you very much, my friend. Mahalo, mahalo.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Luke. A special thank you as well to the Hawaii Police Department, the Daniel R. Sayre Memorial Foundation, Waiakea High School, and the Hilo High School class of 1998. At this time, please join me in welcoming our next speaker and the leader of our county, Mayor Kimo Alameda.
What a beautiful occasion. From the singing of the national anthem, Hawaii Pono'i, to the beautiful speakers, wonderful family and friends. On behalf of the mayors, Mayor Bisson, Mayor Blangiardi, Mayor Kaukama, and myself, it's a privilege and an honor to be here. I just came from church, so I'm still feeling the spirit. So brothers and sisters, aloha. You know, it's nothing's better than celebrating Chief's, life on a Sabbath day, like today, with the sun out and, beautiful Hilo, right? So I got to tell you, my story with Chief, I knew him intimately for a year. I knew his brother longer, but I knew his mom the longest. We worked together. And I came in and I got to appoint half of the team and the other half is pretty much there. And Chief Todd was already there. And so, of course, we're trying to figure out how to make two teams one. And as an incoming mayor, that's a challenge. And the faster you can do that, the better. And so my first week at the mayor's office, Chief Todd was the first one to come to me, from the previous administration and say, hey, welcome to the family, and he gave me a big hug. And that was really special. I knew at that moment that I could make this work. And, and that was special. It was a real blessing to me because I felt like he was the bridge, between the previous and the new. And so, cabinet meeting, he would always sit on my left. In this previous cabinet meeting, it was real tough for us. I looked to my left, and he not there. And I started to feel it, and so did my team. Started to feel it as well. And so, we took a moment of silence. Took 45 seconds, given his 45 years on this earth. And that silence was deep, and we all felt it. And then I looked over to the left, and I saw Acting Chief Daniel, and I asked Daniel if he could say a few words, and his words were really comforting to us. Then I started reflecting, because every cabinet meeting I kind of asked for volunteers, like which department do refreshments. Because, we meet at 9 o'clock, 2 hours, by the time 11, we're kind of hungry. And so, but every department keeps upping the ante. First start off with coffee and donuts, then you go to a bento, so. But when it came to Chief Todd, he was quite creative. He had an assortment of soft tacos. And so, and it was like, wow, what are we going to do with this? And, it was like a Subway kind where you just choose your veggies. And then of course, but that was his way to bridge. He was our bridge. And he made 2 teams, 1 team. And I love him for that. And so we went around and we had a proclamation we shared. And it's displayed out here, and we had made 4 copies. One of them for the family, and one of them for mom and dad, one of them for Chris, and another one for the department. And in that proclamation, we shared how special we felt to be in his presence. He was definitely a man of excellence, always reaching for the stars, especially in his department. I mean, just in 1 year alone, we got brand new ambulances. We got brand new fire trucks, like 4-wheel drive kind. Off-road action. He partnered with the Sarah Foundation. We got an ambulance helicopter like no other, and maybe another one coming. We got the fanciest life-saving water equipment I've ever seen. Pretty soon, no need staff. No. We are a well-functioning, well-oiled fire department, you guys. I feel so safe on this island because of him. Always pushing for the best. The best in equipment, the best for his staff. He was always talking about recruitment strategies, how to retain his people. And the second week I was there, he sat down with my managing director and I, and he showed us on PowerPoint his vision. And the vision was like unlike any other. And I was saying, if we can achieve that, we're going to be the best in the state. And he said, no. We're going to be the best in the nation. That's how Chief Todd was thinking. And we appreciate him for that. And so, on behalf of the county, we're really going to miss him. In this speech that was written by my staff, and I had some thoughts, and I kind of put it in there. I haven't read any of it, but except the last part. The last part, it says, I got to say that today, the good thing about being the mayor is we can declare days. I don't know if maybe the legislature can, I'm not sure. I don't know if the county council can, but I have, and since I have that authority, I'm going to declare today, January 11th, Chief Kazuo Todd Day, everybody. Can we get a big round of applause? Yes. And so with that, I just share with the family. It says here, rest in peace. Chief, we love you. It says your watch has ended. But let me just change the words. When my wife passed, I felt like my life has ended. And, but not really. And so let me just say to Chief, I believe that the veil between this life and the next life, as Pastor Renee can tell you, is very thin. And so and that's why we pay attention to those, because they communicate with us. And so I don't think his watch is over. His watch as the fire chief might be over, but his watch as God's angel has just begun. And so, Chief, I ask you to watch over your wife, watch over your daughter, watch over your parents, watch over Chris, watch over your family and your friends, and most of all, watch over us, our county. We're going to need you. We're going to need your good energy, and we're going to need you on our watch at all times. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor Alameda. We'd also like to thank Troy Gibson Sr., Lauren Williamson, Nathan Wilson, and Masano Daniels for their tremendous work with this weekend's program. Please help me extend a warm welcome to our next guest, Hawaii County Council member Ashley Kirkwicks.
Aloha mai kako. It is my privilege to offer remarks in honor of the life, leadership, and service of our beloved Fire Chief Kazuo Todd. I went to college with Chris and I interned for Auntie Bobby Jean when she was DEM director. And I'm also a proud member of the fire department Ohana. My partner is an FEO. I'm grateful to have known and worked alongside Kazuo for nearly a decade. From the very beginning, what struck me was his brilliance, his humor, and his boundless energy. He was like the Energizer Bunny, always going, always thinking, always building. Like Mayor said, he demanded excellence of himself and others, and he was never afraid to push for change because he genuinely believed that things could always be better and that it was our responsibility to make them so. He was a frontier thinker, imagining a future most of us could not yet see, and then methodically bringing it into existence. When I was first elected to the county council, Kazu was serving as a FASO, leading auxiliary services for the department, making sure that firefighters across Hawaii Island had what they needed to do their job safely and effectively. I remember him walking me through a warehouse, proudly showing me an inventory system he built. It was like Amazon.com for firefighters. He was so excited to share it because for Kazuo, improving systems meant improving lives. From that moment on, we worked closely together. We met often, talked through department needs, and planned ahead. During annual budget hearings, Kazuo always brought his A game. His PowerPoint presentations set a new standard and are now legendary. Clear, thoughtful, data-informed, but always focused on how the decisions and investments would create safer communities and improve the lives and working conditions for the men and women of the Hawaii Fire Department. He had a rare ability to take something complex and explain it clearly and persuasively, and he always did it with heart. When Kazu became fire chief, he was truly in his element. He loved the job, the department, this county, and our community with his whole heart. Talking with him was like drinking from a fire hose, fast-paced and intense, but in the best possible way. He was deeply informed, endlessly curious, and always driven to do the right thing. He was passionate, funny, and always put service above self. But more than anything, he cared. He returned calls, he answered emails, he responded to texts, sometimes as early as 4:30 in the morning, sometimes late at night. One of my favorite messages from him was, "You're still working? I feel like I'm not working hard enough compared to you." And I responded, "Yeah, buddy, work harder. Just joking, you're one of the hardest working people I know." He was also incredibly thoughtful. Once, when my email inbox filled up, he texted me to let me know. Then he offered to stop by my office and help me set up an archive. He was the fire chief then. And still, no task was too small or beneath him if it meant helping someone. Many of us remember his email signature with an inspiring quote or rotating book recommendation and the articles he would send. Business history, leadership theory, and even case studies like the failure of BlackBerry to pivot due to lack of cognitive flexibility. His words, not mine. That was light reading for Kazuo, and I would tease him with the deepest respect and admiration for being such a nerd. And he owned it, he loved it, he knew how valuable curiosity was in his role. Kazu showed up not just as a fire chief, but as a human being. During the pandemic, when our office was distributing more than 1,000 food bags a week, he didn't hesitate. He showed up personally and brought others with him. During our monthly Havea Award presentations at Council, he took real joy in honoring department personnel, making people feel special, seen, and appreciated. His private secretary and right hand, Lauren Williamson, described Kazuo as a stoic. It reminded me of a quote from Seneca: "Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." Kazuo did exactly that. He lived with intention. He showed up prepared, gave his best, and served others fully, never taking time, people, or opportunities for granted. From the moment I met him to his final days of service, titles never mattered to Kazuo. What mattered was doing the work and doing it with excellence. His middle name, Ku'ika'aleo Pelepohakalani, speaks of lava that erupts at night, lighting up the darkness. That is who Kazuo was, a steady, powerful light. It is heartbreaking that someone so bright, so generous, and so full of life has gone far too soon. But what Kazuo leaves us, what endures, is an example of how to leave with integrity, serve with humility, and care deeply for the people and places entrusted to us. To Chief Todd's ohana, my love and deepest condolences. Thank you for sharing him with us. Our community is better because of him. Fire One will be deeply missed, but we honor him best by showing up for one another the way he always did. So may we carry his light forward through our work, our kindness, and the way we choose to serve each other and our community every day. Chief Todd, mahalo nui, ana hui ho.
Mahalo nui, Ashley. Another mahalo to Ayako Jakahi, Noriko Roth, Aya Shihata, and Mickey Turner for your assistance with this weekend's events. For our next guest, please welcome Damon Williams with a musical tribute from the Office of the Mayor.
I've been blessed with in my life. There was an emptiness in me. I was in prison by the power of God. With one kind touch you set me free. Let the world stop turning. Let the sun stop running. Let them tell me love is not worth going through. If it all falls apart, I will know deep in my heart the only dream that mattered had come true. In this life, I was loved by you. For every mountain I have climbed, every raging river crossed, you were the treasure that I longed to find. Without your love I'd be lost. So let the world stop turning, let the sun stop burning. Let them tell me love is not worth going through. And if it all falls apart, I will know deep in my heart the only dream that mattered had come true. In this life, I was loved by you. I know that I won't live forever, but forever I'll be loving you. Let the world stop turning, let the sun stop burning. Let them tell me love is not worth going through.
Mahalo nui, Damon, for that beautiful tribute. At this time, we'd also like to extend our thanks to Noriko Panic, Dustin Mazzone, Mark Yamanaka, and Sunny Lim for their contributions throughout this weekend. At this time, please welcome our next remembrance from the Hawaii State Fire Marshal, Dory Booth.
Aloha, everyone. So I put my speech on my phone on a teleprompter thing, so I knew I didn't talk too much. I've learned the gift of gab from family as well as Kazuo. So, today we're here to celebrate the life of Chief Todd, someone who not only meant a great deal to me, but to everyone that's in this room, watching online, and those that can't be with us today. He was one of those leaders who never raised his voice to be heard. His presence, calm, steady, and thoughtful. He carried himself in a way that immediately let you know this is someone that you can trust. And if you were lucky enough to work with him, you knew that trust went both ways. What I admired most about Kazuo was that he led as a human first and a fire chief second, echoing what so many have said both today and yesterday. He genuinely cared about his people, his firefighters, his command staff, his community, and his ohana. As a daughter of a firefighter, I loved watching the relationship that he shared with me about his daughter and watching you grow up and how proud he was of you. And I'd mentioned to him that I remembered the days that, my dad wasn't there because he was giving so much to the fire department. But at the same time, I knew that he was always there, being able to take the fire truck maybe to a softball game or a sporting event. They'd sneak out and make sure that and you'd hear the tones in the middle of a basketball game or a softball game and the fire truck would take off. And I know that he cared about you so much, Akani. He always remembered names. He asked about families. And when he asked how you were doing, he actually meant it. You couldn't BS him. He would see right through it. He also had a quiet sense of humor, never loud, but perfectly timed. He could lighten the mood in a meeting with just a look or a short comment, and everyone would suddenly breathe again. Just as I'm looking for that right now from him. As we've all heard, he was an avid reader. He believed leaders should keep learning, keep perspective, and encourage others to do so. He could talk about leadership books, history, professional development, but he also appreciated balance. More than once, he reminded me that if you really wanted to understand Hawaii and its people, you should probably put down the policy manuals once in a while and pick up some other books. So in true Kazuo style, I asked him what he recommended. He goes, well, you're from the mainland. He goes, I'd buy Pigeon to the max, learn it, read it, and don't try to translate it. Because that way you know when they're talking about you, but don't try to say it to anybody else because you're going to screw it up and then you're really screwed. That's fair. And then every once in a while the words come out after conversations. To the point, he's like, you read the book? It's like, no, I've been listening to you. He understood what it meant to serve in Hawaii, but not only Hawaii, it was around the country. We've got brothers from Canada, other states that have made the trek out to visit and pay their respects and celebrate the life of Kazuo with us. He knew that being a fire chief here was more about emergency response. It was community, culture, and kuleana. He carried that responsibility with humility, respect, and deep pride in the people he served and the department he led. He was so proud of his team and everybody that he's been able to mentor and bring up through the ranks. For me, Kazuo was more than a colleague. He was a trusted partner and friend, and I valued his counsel. I respected his judgment even when it drove me nuts, or he spoke me in circles using numbers, data, charts that I would have to say, look, I can't, my filter, my meters are pegged, I can't do this anymore. I'll continue to miss his steady voice, the kind that grounded the conversations and reminded us to do what was right, not just what was easy, and to continue fighting for what we believed in. To his family, thank you for sharing Kazuo with us. We know his commitment to service came with real sacrifice, and we're profoundly grateful to that. To the members of the Hawaii County Fire Department, you were truly his pride. He believed in you completely, and his legacy, even though we know that it was about getting the job done, will continue to live through each of you and those that he's mentored throughout the country. He leaves behind more than a title or a uniform. He leaves behind a standard for leadership, for kindness, for quiet strength, and for staying connected to the people we serve. Chief Todd, thank you for your service, your friendship, and for setting the example for all of us. From here, your duties are over, and we look forward to carrying on those initiatives and your dreams. Thank you again. You will be missed.
Mahalo, Dory. At this time, we'd also like to mahalo Lito Archangel, Ikaika Blackburn, Dodo Machueri, and Eric Tanuoy of Greenpoint Nurseries for all your kukua. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker, the retired fire chief of our Hawaii Fire Department, Darryl Oliveira.
Good afternoon. Like many of you, I'm still in shock with Kazuo's passing. I was on a flight home with him Friday afternoon, that same day that Chris said he last saw his brother. As we were exiting the plane, Kazuo and I were joking around, talking about work, asking how things were going, and he was his typical happy, upbeat self. That's the last chance I had to speak with him. And I apologize, I'll be reading from my notes, but I really want to maintain my composure, as well as give him the honor he deserves. Before I share those thoughts, I would like to first, on behalf of my family and I, express our deepest sympathies and condolences to his family and loved ones. You know, today we gather with heavy hearts, but also with deep gratitude. It's interesting how all of the speakers were all saying the same thing, and I think it speaks to the truth of who Kazuo was. The same experiences, the same contacts, the same lived experience we had with him. We honor a life of a remarkable young fire chief, a community leader, a dedicated public servant, and a friend. Though his years were far too few, his impact was immense. In a profession defined by courage, he stood out not because of rank or title, but because of character and his dedication to improving things for our community and his department. Chief Todd believed leadership meant responsibility, humility, and service, and he lived that every day. As a fire chief, he carried the weight of his command and leadership with grace beyond his years. He constantly pursued professional development and personal growth. He planned carefully and faced many challenges with a positive, progressive, and can-do perspective, often employing his unique sense of creativity in seeking or developing solutions. It seems like only yesterday that his recruit class graduated, and one of his first assignments was at the Central Fire Station. I recall responding to the Waikia High School office fire, and in the midst of the operation, having a few moments to talk with Kazuo, as this was one of his first fire incidents. Like most new firefighters, he was so excited to be applying the training that he had gained and to be part of such an exceptional team. A few years later, as our newly promoted fire prevention inspector, he came to me with an idea and a proposal, and that was to improve work for his team and the efficiency with the department. What he suggested was the inspectors could use iPads and digital forms and checklists to conduct inspections more effectively and efficiently, and all of the data collected and archived for future use and sharing across all users. This is one of the first examples of his forward thinking and creative pursuit of better ways to getting jobs done. Later in his career, as you heard Ashley share, as the battalion chief overseeing the department's communication or dispatch center and warehouse as FOSO, he developed systems and tools to improve the management of the department's consumable resources. He personally installed warehouse racking, inventory tracking systems, and processes to evaluate resource utilization and consumption to reduce waste, save money, and ultimately ensure department personnel had the resources they needed to do their jobs. This consistent focus on improving the department, enhancing services, and being responsible steward of taxpayer-funded resources was the walk that he walked. Throughout his career, Chief Todd consistently sought professional development to help him build his personal knowledge and skills to constantly improve his game, from obtaining his fire science degree to participating in training at the National Fire Academy to include the Executive Officer, Fire Officer program. He strived to be the best he could be. He also valued and appreciated relationships and worked hard to build and foster relationships with our communities, businesses, philanthropy, and political or government decision makers, all with the goal of making things better and safer for our island residents and visitors and his fellow first responders. So with that, to his department personnel, the members of the fire department here, you were not just employees and subordinates, you were trusted partners. He believed in you, he may have pushed you to be better, and he stood beside you when it mattered most. His legacy lives on in the skills you carry, the standards you uphold, and the way you look after one another and our community. To Chief Todd's family and loved ones, you shared Kazuo with a calling and profession that demands much and gives little warning. Your sacrifice made his service possible. Know that his life mattered, his work impacted many lives, and his name will be spoken with respect for generations. A fire chief's true measure is not found in calls answered, titles held, but in the lives changed by their presence. By that measure, Chief Todd was extraordinary. Though we grieve deeply today, we do not grieve without pride. Pride in Chief Todd's leadership, pride in his compassion, pride in a life devoted to improving the lives of others. So may we honor Chief Todd not only with our words today, but how we serve tomorrow, by leading with integrity, caring for one another, and answering the call with the same dedication he showed every day. Thank you, Chief Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Darryl. Additional thanks to Kyle Sumner of Ellie Girl Fishing, KTA, Waiakea Water, and Big Island Candies for your generous contributions. Please welcome our next speaker, retired Fire Chief of the Hawaii Fire Department, Darren Rosario.
Hello, everyone. It's always hard to be one of the last speakers because everything that you wanted to say pretty much been said. So I'll make my wife nervous by saying I scrap everything that I was working on and go from the hip. Chief Kazuo Todd was appointed the Hawaii County Fire Chief approximately 5 months after I retired. I was there in Florida enjoying myself when I heard the news. I waited a day and then I gave him a call to congratulate him. First thing he says, like he always says to me, "Hey, boss, what's up?" That's how he always addressed to everybody. "Hey, boss. Hey, boss, what's up?" I go, "Nothing much, toes in the sand, margarita in my hand." And he said, "Wow, I can't wait for that." I said, "Easy, Tiger. You just started. You got about 10 more years to go." But Kazuo was a guy that, as you know, did everything 100%, full throttle, all the way. And when upon my return, I met with him just to talk story, and he asked me, "Any advice you can give me?" I said, "Sure." I said, "You got a lot going for you already." I said, "First of all, you got a brand new mayor who loves the fire department. And thank you, Mayor Roth, for funding the fire department for this 4 years. That made it a lot easier for Chief Todd. And then thank you, Mayor Alameda, for continuing that legacy. Because without funding, it's really difficult to do the job that your vision, and everyone knows Kazuo's vision is enormous." I said, "When it comes to working with the mayor's office, the county council, look no further than your mom." I said, "I can tell you, she was a firecracker. Man, you wouldn't want to do any wrong." I said, "But I think for you, you're not as firecracker as her in a mean way. You're a very humble, compassionate person. So when you need to, just ask mom what you need to do, and somebody's not doing what you want them to do." I said, "On the state side level, you have a wonderful brother, such a beautiful relationship. Seek your brother's help. He's going to introduce you to everyone. And from there, you'll know who the players are, who can get you the help you need, and just mostly is putting your face out there." I said, "We already have the SARE Foundation that, was just a blessing to the Hawaii Fire Department. Started from when Chief Oliver was there, and it was a blessing for me the whole time. And then more so, lately we got some donors that have donated so much to the SARE Foundation that just transgressed down to the Hawaii Fire Department, down to our community." And lastly, I told him, I said, I'm always just a phone call away. Anytime you want to do anything, just give me a phone call. You need help with anything, just give me a phone call. So throughout the last 4.5 years, my phone would ring and we'd talk story. But I want to tell you, we never really talked about the fire department. We might start out that way. He'd say, "Hey, boss, I want to run something past you." But we'd start off that way, and then it'd always go back to, how's the family? And I wanted to just share this because so much was shared about his work aspect. But when we talked, it all boiled down to, he was so proud of his mom and dad for the values they instilled in him. So proud of his siblings on what they've become, what they've been doing. And then for his wife and daughter, I can say, so loving of you folks there. I remember one time I asked him, it was a summer, and I said, he had just been promoted to the fossil position, and he was working hard trying to do all those things that Chief Oliveira just, let you folks know. And I said, "Hey, how's the family?" And he says, "Oh, they're in Japan." And I said, "Why don't you go with them?" And he said, "Well, they'll be there, for a while." And I said, "Oh, that's really nice." And he said, "Yeah, it's really important that my daughter embraces and learns the Japanese culture." Just hearing him talk that way was just so ever loving of his family. And so for me, I was blessed to see him often because we were still part of the Hawaii Fire Chiefs Association together, the SARE Foundation together. And in closing, I just want to say to the family, thank you so much for bringing him into everyone's lives. And thank you, Chief Todd, for doing what you did for the department. It was an honor for me to take over for Chief Oliveira and keep the progress of the fire department moving forward. And that's the only thing I asked of him is I said, moving forward, just make the department better. If you make the department better, it makes me feel good. And I hope I did the same for Chief Oliveira. And I thank all of you for what you brought to the table with Chief Todd. And, I miss him. It was just a blessing to work with him. And I thank you for that opportunity to share a little bit of him. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. And a big mahalo to the State Department of Forestry and Wildlife, the State Aircraft Rescue Firefighting, the U.S. Army Garrison Pohakuloa, and the Greg Cameron Fire Fund. At this time, please help me in welcoming Jeff Murray, retired Fire Chief of the Maui Fire Department.
Hello, everyone. As Chief just said that retired from Maui County, I am your Hawaii Fire Chiefs Association president as well as Western Fire Chiefs board member. As we gather here today to honor the life and legacy of Chief Kazuo Todd, and Chief Rosario kind of brought this up, and I thought maybe I airdropped my speech to everybody, but apparently I didn't. But again, it goes to who he was. So first we would like to thank and honor his mother and father, his wife and daughter, brother and sister, and without his loved ones loving and molding him and shaping him into the man that he became and was, he would have not had made the impacts that he has to all the people here, people not here, on this county, and throughout our country. He was a leader, a collaborator, a servant, a colleague, and a dear friend. We sincerely thank the family for their sacrifice, for allowing your son and husband, brother, and sharing him with all of us. He was always exploring new innovative ways and ideas outside of the proverbial box, striving to work more efficiently, safer, and collaboratively. He worked hard implementing positive change for his department and statewide. He was a student of innovation and technology. I'll give you an example. Chiefs Ventura and Kennedy were, along with myself, were at a symposium on the mainland. And we were talking about different technologies and what have you, and he brought up ChatGPT. And I was like, I heard the kids use that. He's like, oh no, Chief, you gotta try it, it's pretty cool. So he gave me a presentation, a class, and showed me how to use it. And like a child, I was enthralled for about a month with ChatGPT. Check this out, honey, I told my wife. And figuring out different things for our family business after I retired. That was a long time, a whole month for a person with ADHD. But he said that innovative thought process that helped me. So I have to admit, I was tempted to use ChatGPT for this. Even my wife, Angela, she was joking, hey, use ChatGPT. And then we actually looked at each other and smiled because that was one of our fondest memories with him. And so that was the first time that we smiled when Kazuo's name came up since his sudden passing. And in Chief's voice, he would say, hey, give it a try, it's amazing, but always proofread anything before you send it out. So, but I couldn't use ChatGPT for Brother Kazuo. It could only be from the heart to talk about him. As president of the Hawaii Fire Chiefs Association, board member of the Western Fire Chiefs Association, and on behalf of my family and President Jeremy Kraft from the Western Fire Chiefs, and all of our HFCA board members and lifetime members, it has been an honor to have served alongside and with Chief. May your loved ones be blessed and find the strength and courage and peace to carry on your legacy until you all meet again. May you rest forever in peace and love, my brother. Ahui ho and aloha pio. Aloha, 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 aloha,
Mahalo nui, Jeff. At this time, we'd like to send a special mahalo to Jill Tokuda and her representative, Nicole Gray, for our flag displayed on the front table over here. It was flown above the U.S. Capitol on December 29th in honor of Chief Todd. So mahalo nui for that. For our next guest, a woman who has been a pillar in the advancement and innovation of our island's emergency response. Please welcome the Executive Director of the Daniel R. Sayre Memorial Foundation, Laura Mallory Sayre.
I brought my co-director with me today, my co-founder, to give me some moral support. Everyone knows my husband, Dr. Frank Sayre. So this is my second day to express my condolences to Kazuo's family and to the people in this community that he loves so much, which is pretty much all of you. It was our honor to meet him about 15 years ago when he was introduced to us by one of our committee members, Mary Love. She had met him at a gathering and got into a conversation with him and called me immediately and said, "You have to meet this young man. He wants to be involved with your foundation." So the next week we had lunch with Mary and Kazuo at my house, and he blew my socks off and he stole my heart, which he does so easily with everyone he meets. Such a proud moment for his family, his dad and his mom, for raising this amazing young man who was such a bright star for everyone who had the opportunity to share time with him. So Kazuo decided that he needed to give our foundation a lot of support, and he was technically very savvy, and he would set up all of our computers and our printers so that they would talk together, and our software programs so it would function for our events. And to do so, he would come and spend a week with Frank and I, usually alongside of Liz Gregg from AT&T, who's here today, and they would live with us for a week. And I think somewhere in his heart he knew that I needed someone to nurture, that I needed to mom him, because he loved my food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Steve, he was always first in line. He didn't eat last. And he really enjoyed the time with us, and we got to know him not just as a member of the fire department, but as a beloved member of our foundation. And we have a lot of our foundation members here today, his foundation family that came. He also endeared himself through his transition into fire chief with a lot of the people we worked with closely, our fire truck vendors, our equipment vendors, and the people that we brushed elbows with Airbus. And he made friends with everybody, with everyone. What a talent to be able to do that. He really was interested in everyone that he met, just like everyone has said here. That's just rare. And we were all blessed to have known him. We really were. So I want to celebrate him today, and I want to celebrate him in the future. And I do believe that he will be watching over us and guiding us to the future. And I want to help with our foundation to meet the dreams that he had and the goals that he had. He gave me a booklet on every piece of equipment that the fire department had and when it was purchased and when it was going to expire and when we needed to be proactive about purchasing other equipment so we didn't get into being reactive, which unfortunately we had happen in the past. So one of our common goals was long-range planning. And of course, this was all guided by our desire to save lives. We wanted to save lives. We didn't want to lose any more lives. And this led us to a relationship with Mark and Lynn Benioff, who also wanted to save lives. And they helped with their friends and family to support our needs with the fire department, helped us buy fire trucks, initially helped us to buy a 125 Airbus helicopter, which you saw yesterday drop the flowers, our EMS helicopter that replaced a 34-year-old helicopter that was breaking down all the time because we as a county didn't have the money to buy a new one. So we started this initiative. Kazuo was very involved in that project and designing the aircraft and how it was going to be equipped and what it was going to be utilized for, and hiring the personnel that would be running that helicopter. And yesterday, she flew over and dropped the flowers for him in his remembrance. The night that we dedicated the 125 to the county, I got a call saying we need to buy another helicopter that can be a critical care transport helicopter. The first person I called after Mark called me was Kazuo Todd, and we cheered over the phone. Months later, he came back to me and said, "We can't take this helicopter. You need to give the money back." I was like, oh my God, that's not happening. So he mentored me and guided me through that process. And that led us to Matt Mailing, Mark and Lynn's chief engineer, aeronautical engineer, and to a lady named Jenny Humphreys out of Venlo, California, who runs the critical care transport company. And she and Matt, in turn, led me to Ben Clayton from Lifelight Network. And Ben's here today. He flew in from Portland yesterday to be here to honor Kazuo. So, Ben, just wave your hand. That's what an impact Kazuo made on everybody that worked with him and who met him. And because of this collaboration, we now have, as of November 7th, we have an on-island critical transportation aeronautical group with Lifelight Network. They're ours. They're a nonprofit. Their mission is to save lives just like ours. And this process all started with my conversation with Kazuo and what we were going to do. And he was very proud of the day that we blessed the 2 aircraft that Lifelight Network brought in. And we're just now starting. They've flown over 100 missions since November 7th. And they're bringing in more aircraft, and we're going to have our new H-145 here probably the weekend of September 5th, which will be our next awards dinner. At that awards dinner, we are going to be honoring Chief Todd. So I hope you all come, because nobody worked harder than he did. He was on speed dial with me. I would be calling him on a Saturday or a Sunday or at night saying, now, do you want that in yellow or red? How long do you want that rope to be? And should I buy 10 carabiners or should I get more because they're on sale? And he would always say to me when I'd say, do you have a minute, Laura? I always have a minute for you. And then when we'd hang up, he'd say, I love you. And I'd say, I love you back, Kazuo, I've got your back. That kind of relationship, my ability to work with him so closely and to nurture him when he was in my home, which filled my heart, will remain as one of the highlights of my lifetime. I had people call from Darley. I had people call from Pierce Hughes fire truck. People call from Osco. People call from the Big Dog Company in Maine, telling me how sorry they were and to share my condolences with you. Everybody loved him. Everybody respected him. And when we decided to work with the Maui Fire Department to help them buy fire trucks, I went to Kazuo for his consult, and he was like all for it. Said, I'll do whatever I can to be of help with you too. If you need any help with the grant applications, let me know. So he was just always there, always for my back. I just want to share a real quick story. I did it yesterday, but I think this is really important for you to know. On the day that he died, that morning, we were at a blessing ceremony for 14A. We helped them buy a new fire truck through a community fundraiser. And he spoke after Frank and I, came up and gave us both big hugs, and then they handed him the microphone. And he said, "Oh boy, those of you who really know me know that if you hand me a microphone, I really like to talk, so you're all in trouble." And everybody laughed. And then he went on to say, "I want you to know I love my job. I love my job. I love being your fire chief. And the reason I love being your fire chief is because we have such an amazing community. We work so closely together to get the items that we need and to make life better here for all of our citizens. I love my volunteer firefighters who give up their time and their finances to come and fight fires for us. And without them, we would have had much different outcomes for the Mono Road fire and the fire that happened on the day that Lahaina burned, because we had 9 fires on our island that day. And the volunteers came and helped put out those fires with trucks that we had purchased through the Sarah Foundation." He said, "I love the Waimea Community Association. They provided food for my crews, for the volunteers, for DOFA, for Pahakaloa, for my equipment operators every single day except the morning of the fire, the very first day where I had to provide breakfast. From that point on, the Waimea Community Association took care of us. That was it." He said, "No other island, no other place in the United States where I have been does a fire chief have this kind of support. I am so fortunate and so blessed to live here and to be the fire chief of this island." And he really, truly loved each and every one of you. It meant something to him to save lives. It meant a lot to him to be prepared, as you've heard. He was detail-oriented, and he did everything with a stroke of excellence. That's who he was. That's who I want to continue to honor through our foundation. So I ask all of you to help us to honor Kazuo by getting involved, by staying the community that we are, by putting out love every day like he did, and helping to change the things that need to be changed. Because he believed that we could. I believe that we can. And now I need you to believe that we can. Thank you for the honor of speaking. It's really special to Frank and I to represent our community. This is a public foundation. This is for you. This is your foundation. And we're going to keep going with all the things that Kazuo wanted us to do. Getting the chest compressors for the fire trucks, like we just purchased, just 3 Lucas chest compressors, so that the captains of the fire trucks don't have to die giving CPR, which actually happened. We need to get hangars for our equipment to protect our equipment. I have his design. He and I sat down and worked on a design for a permanent hangar. I'd like to see that come to fruition. We need 3 hangars to protect our equipment. And I would like to see us work toward those goals. It's not as sexy as maybe buying the truck or the helicopter, what have you, but it's certainly something that's needed. And rejoice in what he helped to build with our partnership with Life Flight Network, because they're saving lives every day through all the connections that Kazoo helped us make. Thank you very much.
As always, thank you to Laura and Frank Sayre. At this time, we'd also like to thank the Hawaii County Firefighter Relief Fund, Extreme Sound and Lighting, and the Maui Fire Department Honor Guard. For our final speaker, please help me to welcome the Deputy Fire Chief of our Hawaii Fire Department, Daniel Volpe.
Good afternoon, everybody. So it looks like the 3-minute window thing went out. 3 minutes went out the window, so I will do my best to try to keep it short here. Somehow I ended up closing. No pressure, but exactly I think what Chief would have in mind for me. To start off, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Volpe. Share a lot of things in common with Chief Todd. I am also a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. And because of Chief Todd, I have the distinct honor of being the Deputy Fire Chief of the Hawaii Fire Department. We went back about 20 years. Chief was in the recruit class right before mine. We crossed paths through recruit time. The very first day, on my first day of work at a fire station, he was there. I remember pulling into the parking lot. He was putting on his boots, and he forgot to call available. So anybody in the fire department understands, and you come back from sick leave, you got to call available. So within about the first couple of minutes, I got the reminders from the captain, call available. I was like, okay, got it. From then, we worked together. We were both the new guys. He was new, I was newer. We got drilled together, tested together, bunker gear, PPE, checking vehicles. We were put together. As also the new guys, we also got to do all the other business, as in running errands, dropping off timesheets, driving all up and down West Hawaii, doing all the stuff that they send the two recruits, they send the two new guys to go do. Those times we got to know each other. We got to build a relationship. Our paths crossed over the years. The next time I see him a couple years later, I'm in paramedic school. He's at Pohoa Fire Station. We're working together. We get a call or come back from a call. The Pohoa Fire Station, the old station, was tiny. It was little. Little kitchen, little table. On the table, I come back, and there's a tray on the table. Looks like chicken nuggets. Perfect. Right around lunchtime, they start giggling. So Kazoo was there all day. I'm like, what are these? He said, oh, chicken nuggets. Like, chicken nuggets? Yep. Okay. Grab them. Eat one. Instantly, not a chicken nugget. These were Rocky Mountain oysters. They had just come back from the ranch, and he thought it was the funniest thing he had ever seen. He was instantly on the floor, laughing, like, all right, Kazuo, thanks, you got me. Over the next 15 years, we crossed paths. He went into prevention. I stayed on the ambulance. We didn't work with each other for a long time. It wasn't until eventually I got off the ambulance. He got into Battalion Chief of FOSO. I became a fire captain. He became the fire chief. And next thing you know, as any of the fire service know, especially anybody in the fire service around the country knows, that every station is filled with brilliant geniuses. Everyone's a genius. And everybody from the kitchen table can solve every problem in the fire department, every problem in the country, every problem in the world. We're all brilliant, and we got everything figured out right there and then. And usually, the answer is easy. For us at the fire station, it's just, when you say, well, who's going to work on this? Who's going to fix this? Well, the answer is always they. They will. They're got to fix this. Oh, it's the chiefs. They're going to fix this. They got to fix our trucks. They fix our gear. They fix our stuff. They. And so a couple of months into being a captain at Central Fire Station, luxurious Central Fire Station, the ceiling collapsed on the second floor. And so as a brand new captain looking at a collapsed ceiling and debris all over the place, thinking, okay, this is easy. They'll fix it. They're going to fix this. No problem. Within a week, Kazoo had pulled us into the office It pulled us into admin, and we start talking, and he put us, if you know him, he loves to stand in front of a whiteboard. Stand up a whiteboard, throw everybody in the room, let's talk it out. And we start going through ideas. What are we going to do? How are we going to work on this? What are we going to fix it? What's the plan? If we got to move, what's the time schedule? Where's the engine go? Where's the ambulance go? How do we work this? And I started to see a bit of the secret. And it was right there in that room where I realized that there is no they. There's no group of they. There's no all-powerful, all-knowing chiefs with all the money. There's only us. And that's one of the first lessons he taught me as a leader, is that it's us. There is no they. And that moment changed my career. As a captain, I started to see a peak of what he thought, that my world was blown open. No longer did all I think about was my station, my crew, my needs, what I got to do for my guys. It was about we, us. What do we have to do? And I started to open. And little by little, he started throwing stuff, little projects. Help me with a grant here. Here, work on this MICT retention or paramedic retention program. Here, try this, try that. Have you thought about this? I get an email from a conference. I'm like, what is this email? I keep getting this email. Oh, I signed you up for this symposium in Reno. You're going. I'm like, all right, sure. You got it, boss. And little by little, and what I realized that he's reeling me in, and I was in. I realized then he saw something, and this is a gift again, like Pastor Renee said. He made me feel special, but he made everybody feel special. And about a year and a half ago, I get a phone call. I was not expecting. I said, hey, come to the office. I want to talk stories. Like, what about? It's like, don't worry about it. Come inside. So, all right, you got it. I come into admin. About a half an hour in, he's taking notes and he's typed up questions. I'm like, what is going on? This feels like an interview. And he's like, oh, it's an interview. I was like, great, thank you. Now you tell me. We talked for 3 hours. In that meeting is when he said, that the Chief Moeller was leaving. He was looking for a new deputy fire chief. And my first thought was like, you're nuts. What are you looking at me for? But again, it was that moment of the empowerment. He believed that we could do it, that I could do it. And if he was going to, and then so he tells me in that meeting, well, we'll keep things in mind. We'll see what's going on. But if we decide to move forward, I'll give you a call. I'll tell you, come over, have dinner. We'll talk story. Okay. About a week later, I get a call. Said, come over, let's talk story, and we'll have a conversation. So, Miko, you made us dinner. We sat down. He offered me the position of fire chief. And again, I thought, you're nuts. But if he believed in you, there's nothing that I would say no to. There was no way I was going to turn him down. He saw something in me. He saw something in all of us that make us work. We can be better. We can move. We can get better and get better. And it has nothing to do. It never was about the badge. It never was about the office. It was about the work and the mission. And he got me in. And so it was one of the greatest honors of my career is to be brought in to work alongside him. He brought me to meetings, state fire council, union negotiations, at his side through event after event after event. And then not only did I realize, I started to realize the impact he had on the county, the department, but not just the department, the county at large, the state. And I can say with confidence, the state of Hawaii is a safer place to live because of Kazuo Todd. The impact he's made, and you don't, from the ground up at the station, sometimes you don't realize the impact. But being in these meetings and getting around the country and around the state and starting to understand how much he did, how much he cared. It didn't stop. It's been said 100 times in the last 2 days, but he worked at 1,000,000 miles an hour because he cared. That's all it was over about. He leaves behind a legacy. Like, his legacy, we've been talking about that a lot. He didn't care about his legacy. But we would go to when we would go to promotion ceremonies, and recently some recruit ceremonies, he would talk about his badge. The badge that we give to the recruits, the badge that we wear. And it was never about the size of the badge, but it was about what the badge represented. And the badge represented purpose. The purpose. It's just, he would say, it's a hunk of metal. It's not worth anything. Not worth much. Won't buy you a house. You can't sell it. But it gives you a purpose. So every member of the Hawaii Fire Department, the purpose is to serve the mission. And the mission of the fire department is simple. We exist to save life and property, to safeguard the community, and to serve the public with aloha. And that is it. That is the reason we are here. He loved being the fire chief. The mission meant everything to him. The purpose that badge you wear on your chest when you go on calls and represent the fire department is in service to the public, is in service to that mission. And that is the only thing that mattered at the end of the day. I thank his family, his friends, the sacrifice that you had to give him, to let us borrow him for so much time to put those countless hours in work. But no, his legacy travels statewide. That purpose continues. It has not stopped. It will not stop. The 360 firefighters, 40 support services staff, 70 ocean safety, 40 people in admin, 110 volunteers. We are the Hawaii Fire Department. We are the manifestation of his ideas, his dreams, his work, and his love for everybody. The next few months, years are unpredictable. It's another lesson we can't always predict the future. But there's one thing I do know for sure. So every resident of this island, everyone in this room today, anyone who sets foot on this island, when you call and you need help, the Hawaii Fire Department will be there. Every single member, everybody in this room is there for the public. You rest assured, when you call 911, we will show up. We will not stop. We will not give up. And we will continue, because that's his legacy. And that's what it's only about. Thank you very much. I tried to keep it short and not talk too fast, like my wife reminded me a few times. But thank you so much. To everybody in the fire department, we are so grateful for all of you, all your support, and everybody that put this event together. I can't thank you enough. It's been my honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Volpe. As we've heard today, the theme of Chief Todd's life, leadership, dedication, service before self, and a keen sense of humor and warmth. The work he's done will live on through all of us and will continue the mission and the task that he set out to complete. As Chief Volpe said, save life and property, safeguard the community, and serve the public with aloha. He made a 20-minute YouTube video on this statement, by the way. Go watch him. One of the most things that I've learned from Chief is that our mission can't be completed alone. So once again, thank you to Chief's family. Thank you to all the families of our first responders for sharing your loved ones. Thank you to the speakers, participants, and our brothers and sisters working the front lines as we speak. And thank you, Chief Todd. May you rest in peace. And thank you for believing in us to carry on the mission. On behalf of the Hawaii Fire Department, the Hawaii County, and the people of Hawaii, mahalo nui loa for a life well lived. We love you and we'll miss you. Ahui ho, Chief. Please travel safe, everyone, and mahalo nui loa.